sir. Are you Richard?
Yes.
Hi, Richard. My name is Russ Strasser.
Okay.
You want to come in for a second?
Sure.
I don't want people to be looking at whatnot. Hi.
It's been pretty rough.
I bet it's been incredibly rough. I want to tell you a few things. I want to tell you who I am, why I'm asking to speak with you, and sort of lay it out for you.
Right.
Okay. And I realize we didn't expect you to be here, so
I'm not willing to give up until they fire me.
good for you, by the way. Good for you.
Yeah.
But I literally was under the wrong information, and so what I'm apologizing for is I'm not quite ready for you yet because I thought that we'd have to wait for you to come in. So I apologize if this looks a little haphazard. It's just I didn't realize you would be here. So
Good to go.
I'm actually thrilled that you're here. I'm going to say the first thing with respect to you with this whole COVID thing. If you'd rather me have a mask,
I don't care.
I don't either. And so,
All right.
but I want you to know that you can drive that bus. If you say, Russ, put a mask on, I have one that I can put on.
Good to
Okay.
go. I mean, if you don't mind, I'd rather not wear these damn things.
I'm okay with that too. When we leave here, I've got my finger on just so
They don't get mad at me.
they don't get mad at you. Exactly. Okay. So let me tell you who I am and why I'm here. You obviously know why I'm here.
Yes.
The last week has been crazy, right?
It's been insane.
Yeah.
The only reason I came out forward, I'm an introverted person, don't like to be noticed.
I'm there with you. I understand.
But as soon as I started realizing they knew it was me, and they came with an allegation, a PDI from like months ago, like June, August, and they were like, "Yeah, we need to get that statement." I was like, "Dude, I gave you that statement."
So here's where we're at right now. Okay. I'm going to make a promise to you right now. I'm going to be 100% upfront with you the entire time you're with me. Okay. If you ask me a question, I promise to answer you, and I promise to answer you honestly.
All right.
Whether it's good for me, bad for me, good for you, bad for you, I will be honest with you. That's my first promise to you. Okay. And so let me make good on that promise right away. Okay. This storm is getting crazy, right? And it's out of a lot of people's control. And so the reason they called me in is to try to harness that storm, try to reel it back in before it gets really crazy. Okay?
I understand.
Because we have senators involved, we have the Department of Justice involved, we have
Trump's lawyers team's gotten a hold of me.
All sorts of things are involved right now. Okay? And so here I am being honest with you. I actually believe what you're saying. Okay? But I also feel like we need to make sure it is 1,000% correct and 1,000% shaved down to only the exact truth. Do you understand what I mean by that?
I understand.
I don't consider an exaggeration a lie. Okay?
Okay.
But when it's out of our hands, it can turn that way very quickly. And so what I want to do, in the best way that I can protect you, is to leave today with the absolute truth, the barest truth that nobody can chip away at on you. Does that make sense? And does that seem fair?
Yes.
That's where I'm at with that. Okay.
Okay.
The first thing we're going to do is we're going to chat. Okay. Because I've heard everything from him, from the other one, from the news. I've heard things from everybody. I haven't heard anything from you. Okay. You and I are going to sit down and we're going to chat. You have full authority to tell me anything you want to tell me, from get lost to whatever else. I'm literally going to be here in your corner, okay? But we have to start from the same page, if I can say it that way, okay? One option I have for you that is going to just be put aside for now, but one option I have so that we have more in your corner is a polygraph. Okay? I'm putting that aside right now. I want you to understand that. If you and I decide to go down that road, I will at length talk about it with you.
I've been polygraphed before.
That's okay. That's good. Okay? I am a polygraph examiner. And I am prepared.
It was when I went to apply for the police department. If you're just wondering, when I was in Texas.
That's all right.
It wasn't because I was in trouble.
No. Listen. The way I am a polygraph examiner, and the way I view the polygraph is it's more used to get people out of trouble than into trouble.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean by that? And so my question when you said that wasn't, what did you do? My question was, did it help you? And you just said, we'll talk about it if we have to. We don't have to bring up past unless you want to, okay?
Yeah, it was just the part of the interview thing to join the police department.
Okay. So this, I'm gonna do a couple things with you right now. Okay? I'm gonna bring you into this next room with me. It's a mess right now because I haven't done setting up. But if you will give me the respect to allow me to set up in front of you instead of just sending you off to get you again, then I will give you the respect to give you as much time as you need to discuss whatever you want to, and we'll get, like I said, my goal today is to get the absolute narrowest truth that nobody can chip away at.
Okay.
Because you more than I know how this is just going and going and going, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to this room. If you need to use a restroom, you have one. There's going to be a lot of equipment right now, so please go ahead and have a seat. I'm going to continue with what I'm doing over here, but you spoke to the agent before, right?
Yes, sir.
You remember my name? Chris?
I'm not good with names.
No, I thought it was Chris.
I'm Chris. All right.
Do you mind if I call you Richard? Is there something?
Alex.
Alex.
Everybody calls. I mean, everybody knows my first name, but I've actually go by my middle name, which is whatever.
Okay.
Well, that came out of
Is
nowhere
it-
for me.
Yeah.
I wish I would have called you that on Friday.
Well, I mean, everybody's gonna know me by my first name, and it's kind of funny because my grandfather's also a Richard Hopkins, and he goes by Skip. So he was a cop here in Erie.
I have a cousin that goes by Bubba, so nothing surprises me. Is it all right if I call you Alex?
That's fine. Go ahead.
I will call you, whatever you want me to call you. But if Alex works for you, I will call you Alex. Alex, when you spoke with Agent Klein last week, it was Friday, did you fill out any forms?
No, I don't think we did. No.
Okay. So I have a few forms that we have to fill out.
Right.
Okay. And I made a promise to you to be upfront with you, right? So one way, I will prove that to you is before I ask you to fill out any form, you and I will go through the entire form together. So there's not one word that I'm like glossing over or anything. You're going to know exactly what's on the form. The main form I have to fill out, basically, if you're watching TV, it's your rights.
Yeah.
Right? And what your rights mean on TV is, oh, you're being arrested. That's not what rights are in
I
law.
understand that.
What your rights are, they basically say you're an American citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an American citizen, you have inherent rights. And one of those rights that the courts have decided is if somebody presents themselves as a person of authority and they want to speak to an American citizen, that American citizen needs to know that he doesn't have to say anything if he doesn't want to say anything. That American citizen has to know that if he wants to get up and walk, he's allowed to get up and walk. And that's what the rights are. Okay,
Understood.
So I have to fill out that paperwork because A, it lets you know what your rights are, but B, it sort of protects my behind to say, yeah, I actually told him what he was allowed to do in this time. Okay, so before we fill anything out, if you have any questions on what you're filling out or what I say, you ask that. I'm not going to ask you to sign anything until you know what you're signing and you're comfortable with what you're signing. Is that fair?
I understand.
Okay. Do you have Garrity with you by chance?
Let me grab one.
We call the rights Garrity. There are a couple levels of rights, and Garrity is the lowest level. It's essentially saying you're here voluntarily. I have a mask for you if you want one, but you said you didn't care, so
I've got one in my pocket if you need one.
I don't need one. All I want you to know is if you ever feel more comfortable with one.
So are you with the Postals, with them, or are you FBI, or what are you?
I am not FBI.
I know the FBI is supposedly involved in this one.
I heard that as well.
Yeah, I just recently heard
So-
that.
So here's what we've got with that, okay? I want to sit with you, but I don't want to hover over you. Thank you. All of that comes down to a term called jurisdiction, okay? And jurisdiction is a slippery slope that nobody can define, okay?
I understand.
All jurisdiction does is it identifies the entity that basically is head of whatever situation it is, okay?
Okay.
And right now you are postal, which means the Postal Service Office of Inspector General has jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
FBI does not. Now, as the wind blows, so does jurisdiction, and that could change. But right now, nobody can do anything as long as we're talking with you, because we have jurisdiction. And in that, I'm going to answer your next question. My paycheck comes from the United States Postal Service Office of Inspector General.
Gotcha.
That's where my paycheck comes from. I do not work with these guys. I do not even live here. I drove in yesterday from New York City.
Okay.
Okay? So if that lets you know, I am not part of this investigation. I am literally here to see what I can do, as I laid out before, so that we have a very finite situation that anyone who wants to throw stones at are going to have a very hard time doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Is that cool with you?
I understand.
Okay. Let me do this, and then I don't have to worry about talking to you about anything because my butt's covered. Fair?
Good to go.
Okay. Thank you. You're being very.
Like I said, I went to go to the police department. I also, when I did go to college, I went to college for criminal justice. So some of the stuff I already kind of understand.
Okay. If I'm saying something you already know, one of two things is going to happen. You can say, Russ, shut up, and Russ will shut up. Or I'm going to say it anyway, just so I know that we're on the same page. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm going to have you fill out this first part. I'm just going to have you write your name. I'm going to have you put Richard, but you can put Alex after it since I'm going to call you Alex, okay?
Okay.
Oh, you're a lefty.
Yeah.
And then Alex, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my name underneath it because I'm the one who's doing this form with you, okay?
All right.
Deep breaths. In this room, we're okay, all right? Okay, so the way I do these forms, some people just hand them to you and say, you need to initial all those. I don't like doing that. I like going through the form with you so you know what I'm asking you to sign.
Roger.
Like I said, all this is telling you that you're an American citizen so that you know what your rights are. Okay?
Good.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you these 4 rights, okay? As I read them, like this one, first one says, I have the right to remain silent if I can't read upside down, if my answers may tend to incriminate me, right? Okay? All that means, literally, a lot of legalese, we hear it on TV all the time, but all that means is if you don't want to answer one of my questions or if you don't want to say anything, you have the right not to say anything. That's all it means. If you want to be quiet, you can be quiet. So what I'm going to say is if you understand what that line means, I'm going to ask for your initials. And all your initial means is that you understand it.
That's just basically playing the fifth in this situation.
Essentially, I mean that's the TV way to look at it, but the fifth only comes into play if you're in court.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So anything I say or do may be used against me in a court of law and in other proceedings, including administrative proceedings. Do you understand what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I say something incriminating, it can be used against me. I can get in trouble for it. Yeah.
If I refuse to answer questions because my answers may tend to incriminate me, I will not be disciplined solely on remaining silent.
Yeah.
Fair?
Understandable.
We're on the last one. This interview is strictly voluntary, and I may leave or stop answering questions at any time. Got it? Understand?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm going to have you do your part, and that is, I would like you to read, no, don't sign it until you read this to me. Read it out loud to me.
I have read the acknowledgement of rights or had it read to me, and I understand it as set forth above. No promises or threats have been made to me, and no coercion of any kind has been used against me.
Alex, I'm going to ask you a question, and you are an intelligent person. I am not insulting your intelligence, I promise. You wouldn't believe the amount of people I sit down with who don't know what the word coercion means. Do you know what it means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
It means that you are kind of like verbally forcing me to do something that I
Right,
don't want to
exactly. It could be a positive or a negative, but it's forcing you to do it. For example, I could say, you're either going to sign that form or I'm going to break your leg.
Yeah.
That's coercion, right?
Yep.
Or I could say, you know what, Alex? You sign that form, I'll buy you a car. That is also coercion,
and
right?
bribery.
Right? Right? But what you're saying by signing that is nothing like that's happening today.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, then go ahead and sign. Thank you very much.
That's 931-093. One.
What we got for time? 9:31. You already have that, and today's what is today? The 9th. Yeah. Alex, thank you for putting up with this.
You're fine. I knew something.
Your signature, dude.
What? I have the worst handwriting ever, so.
I would say I want to give you a run for your money, but you win. Sorry, you win. What we got? 9:32.
Yep. 0932.
I understand you were a Marine.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
I was Air Force, so I got to fly over you. But
Oh, you were a pilot.
I was not a pilot. I did
Aircrew?
intel.
Oh, Intel.
Yeah, I did forward intel.
Yeah, I was a 5952 navigational aids technician.
Yeah. How long were you in?
5 years in the Corps, and then I did 4 more in the Army Guard.
Good on you. Good on you, man.
Actually, you know Harvey, the Harvey hurricane.
Mhm.
I was down there.
Were you really?
Yeah. Right. That was right before I moved to Erie. We went down there and we were like doing rescue ops and everything, cleaning up.
Yeah, that's no joke, man. That is no joke.
They said it was the largest Texas deployment ever since World War II.
Okay. I have one other question to ask you, and that is because there's so much confusion going on with your state and the Postal Service state and Lindsey Graham's state and all this other stuff. Okay. You said that you had been contacted by the Trump campaign lawyers.
Yes.
Have you been contacted by any other legal entity?
No.
Have you contacted any legal entity?
No. Just through Veritas. Veritas says that in case there's anything that happens, they have lawyers on retention for me.
Okay. But you have not spoken to a lawyer?
Outside of just doing the affidavit, the juviet, yeah.
Explain that to me.
The juvat, or whatever it is. When I did my affidavit, they wanted to make sure it was...
Let me ask you a question this way.
Okay.
And there's a reason I'm asking that, because I'm protecting your rights.
Jurat, that's
Okay.
the word.
Okay. When you did that affidavit with them,
Mhm.
is it safe to say that those lawyers were representing them? And you were just part of that?
The actual notarization was actually here in Erie. They just wanted me to get the affidavit done so they can utilize it to bring it in case they need to subpoena me into the court.
But you yourself, right now, today, this very second, do not have personal representation. Is that correct?
As far as I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I just need to make sure that, because if you did, I would make whatever efforts possible to have that person here. But if the person hasn't been identified and assigned to you, then that is a hurdle we don't have to jump. Okay. And so, as long as your understanding is the same as mine, that you do not have personal representation at this moment, you are accessible to some, but you do not have it at this moment, then I will feel free to continue. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Boy, enough legalese, right?
I actually enjoy learning about legal stuff.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, then sit
I'm
back.
a weirdo.
Sit
I like
back,
to learn
brother, because
stuff.
you're about to look. No, I'm kidding.
It's the reason why I went into criminal law. I actually took a lot of psych because I wanted to be like...
A lot of it is psycho.
I know. It's
Crazy.
interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Are you comfortable?
For the most part, yeah. I'm still nervous as hell. Like,
You're
my
allowed
body's
to be
still
nervous.
shaky.
Listen,
So that's why I'm like,
nerves don't bother me one bit. I think that I would be more concerned if you weren't nervous. Okay?
Gotcha.
So don't feel like you have to put up any front with me. If you are getting to a point where things are overwhelming, say, Russ, things are overwhelming. If you get to a point where you're like, my heart's beating a little bit quickly right now, can I have a minute? You ask that, okay?
Ask for a smoke break then. I'm a smoker, I'm sorry.
I'll give you any break but a smoke. I'm kidding.
I know it's bad.
You're
It's
already-
bad for me. I'm
You're
killing myself.
already laughing at my joke, so we're already on a good start here. So here's where we are, and we're going to get into the meat of it, okay?
Okay.
Because it's what I tried to explain to you out there. What's going on right now is you made a report to Project Veritas, right?
Mhm.
And then that has sort of grown its own legs, and it is going crazy. And I want to be very clear with you. What you are reporting, I am not condemning. Fair?
Yes.
I'm sure you've got a lot of condemnation, right?
Yeah.
And so what I want to be clear on is the sum total of what I've read that's been reported, and that's not fair because I've only gotten all my 100% of my information third party, right?
Mhm.
So that's not totally fair to you. But what I've gone through and what I've sort of did my little research on and whatnot is my interpretation. This is me being upfront with you, not me putting you on the hot spot, but just me being upfront with you. Is you have valid reason for your emotions. I think you and I are going to find out that we are pretty similar on some things. Okay, but beyond the core. I don't want to say this because I don't want to insult you, but I'm just going to insult you and then we'll deal with it later, okay? Beyond the core, there may have been a little embellishment. And I just want to make sure that there hasn't been, and I just want to make sure if there is, we get rid of that right now so that anything that goes on after this, like I said, is you're standing on solid ground. Fair? You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is this meeting that happened. And if I say something incorrectly, please correct me, right? But I understand that everybody was called in for a meeting, and the meeting's topic was what to do on election mail. Was it after the 3rd or just the whole time?
What do you mean?
The meeting when the carriers were told to bring the election mail back and put it, you remember it, I guess.
Yeah, putting it, making sure that it gets given to the supervisor.
I'm just turning off the
directly.
recorder real quick, so we're not bothered. Sorry about that. Go ahead, tell me about that.
So all I know, well, it was like basically safety stand down. So if they go from, Stephanie went from each and every day, basically telling them, hey, make sure you pick up all those ballots. And she was also running around telling us that, you know, every vote counts kind of thing. And it was kind of weird the way that it was going. And you can probably talk to other carriers that thought shit was weird. And then I'm sitting there and I was, like I said, I was the last one in the office. I'm one of the last ones in the office casing up my route. And I'm right near where they were sitting near the machines. And it was him and Daryl. And that's when I heard what I heard. And I'm just saying I heard something about one of the ballots not being marked the 4th and the rest being marked the 3rd. And that's why I said what I was like, that doesn't make any sense because this was the 5th that I'm hearing this.
Okay.
And they were talking about stuff from the 4th.
Okay. Best that you can do right now, and we're going to do some techniques that may seem silly, but some techniques that help the mind remember, okay? But best you can do right now, and listen, dude, I know that you have been thinking this nonstop for like 5 days now. I get it, okay? But right now, at a starting point, tell me exactly, not interpretation, exactly what you heard. And if you heard some words clearly and some words not, that's fine with me. But right now, let's get exactly what you heard.
Okay.
Look at me for a second.
That's what I'm trying to think.
We're good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We're. I just want you to know we're good. Okay.
All right. The one I know for sure, like I said, I just happened to peek out at the end of it. They saw me, so they walked away afterwards.
So we're gonna rewind 30 or 90 seconds before that.
Okay. I'm sitting there casing, and I overhear something about the 4th ballots that were picked up on the 4th.
So you heard the words 4th ballots, or
the ballots picked up on the 4th.
Ballots picked up on the 4th. That's
Yes.
what you heard.
Yes.
Okay. And
then I heard them say that one of them was marked the 4th and the rest were the 3rd. That's the only words that I can remember specifically out of that conversation. As soon as I heard that, I popped my head out because it freaked me out. I looked to see who it was. I saw the two of them. And then Rob actually looked directly at me and then they walked away.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna tell me if this will make you uncomfortable. I want to do a field trip real quick.
Okay.
Do you mind if I walk with you to your casing station? Do you mind if we do that?
Sure.
Can we do that right now? Is that going to make you feel uncomfortable at all?
No, I just don't know if I mean, they might. No, they're probably still. There's nobody left in there probably at this point.
Okay. Tell me if that makes you uncomfortable.
No.
Okay. I'm more concerned about you than this, but I do want to go see this. Okay.
Okay.
Do you mind doing this with me?
And you want me to tell you exactly where they were in proportion? Okay.
That's the whole thing. Okay.
There you go.
Let's put a mask on and go out there.
We're not putting. Oh, it's right here.
Can you slide my phone?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. Easy Klein, you have paper? Okay.
Oh, that's not badge in there. All right.
Do you need your badge?
No, I don't think we're badging in or out.
I'm not
anyway.
doing this so that it looks like you're with
Okay.
authority, but I feel like this is important and people already know, right? So
Yeah.
So,
Sorry. Excuse
very
me.
sorry, ma'am.
sorry.
6'3".
So on a normal day, that's not election. That's not craziness. What's your timetable? Like when do you get out?
This whole freaking since COVID hit, it's been like 10 to 12 hours
Okay.
every day.
When are you normally done facing?
About 9-10,
Okay.
and this is the case I was at.
Okay.
And because I'm a
And this is your
CCA.
normal casing? Casing
Yes,
area?
sometimes I'm not the regular. I'm just a CCA.
Gotcha.
And they were right here. The two of them were right here, face to face, talking.
So go there for a second.
What's that?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to gauge how loudly they had to be talking. So how loudly would you say they were talking?
Like an average conversation like
Like
you and
this?
me. Yeah.
Like this? So, and this is not me being slippery, okay?
Mhm.
But what we just did there, and I spoke like this, the first time I said anything, you could not hear me, okay?
Barely, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying when we're going to specific words, I want to know exactly what words you know you heard versus you didn't hear. You
Okay.
understand? Because someone else is going to come here and say, that distance in this dead air, you would not be able to hear what you heard. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. When you poked your head around,
Mm-hmm.
what happened at that point?
Rob looked over and saw me.
So his back was to you.
Yes.
And who was here?
Wait, no. Flipped.
That's okay.
Daryl, Rob was right there. Daryl was here.
Rob was here.
Mhm.
Daryl was there.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl turned and looked at you? Or?
No, Rob did.
So he didn't have to turn.
Yeah, he just had to look.
He just looked at you. And at that point, what happened?
They walked away.
This way?
Mhm.
Is his office this way?
Yeah, it's actually in the back area.
Okay. I don't want to put you on display anymore. We can go back. This is just sort of what I wanted to get from my head. Cool?
All right.
All right.
Oops, sorry.
You're okay. Do you understand what I'm doing?
Yeah, you're trying to gauge like how loud they would have had to spoke and how far away they would have. It was
I'm
to be
trying
able
to
to hear.
gauge what's going to be thrown in.
Gotcha.
Okay? Because here's the deal. Here's the absolute deal. And this is why I already like you, because you're a Marine and you know what integrity is, right?
Mhm.
If they're able to put doubt on something that wasn't 1,000% true,
Mhm.
right? They're going to put doubt on everything that you say.
I understand.
And I don't think that that's fair.
Yes.
Okay? And that's what I'm talking about. Let's shave it down. Let's shave it down to what we know 1,000% is true.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that with me.
That's fine. Even though all the supervisors were sitting there staring at us.
I know, I didn't know they would be there. I'm so sorry. I should have said something loudly like, "Man, you are a great employee," or something like that.
All right.
But you see why I did that, right?
Yes.
Because
To get a feel for where it is, what the situation was.
you have a claim that you're allowed to be passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's what I'm trying to stress to you. You're allowed to be passionate about what you think was happening with ballots. Okay?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay? Your choice, which is also valid, was to go outside the Postal Service.
Because I didn't know who to trust.
To report it, right? This claim, which I think is an important claim,
Mm-hmm.
starts to go down to an integrity question.
Yes.
You already have major integrity points with me because you and I both serve this country, which means I know you love this country. And not only did you just serve this country, but then you re-upped in the Army Reserve, you said, right?
Mm-hmm. Army Guard.
Army Guard, my bad,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
But that shows service. That shows kind of what's going on in here,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And I'm going to talk about me for a second, so the spotlight's not always on you.
All right.
But if you're anything like me, Alex, you know, I serve this country because I love this country.
Exactly.
I serve this country because this country is the best country in the world, right?
Exactly.
I serve this country because this country actually shows us how things should be done. You agree with all that?
Yeah.
And I believe in protecting all that. You agree with that?
Yes.
Right.
And I believe in protecting the vote. I mean,
absolutely. That's where I'm going. I am the weird person. And I'll say it's weird because none of my family understands me.
I don't care who wins.
But I'm the weird person. I don't care about jury duty. I actually, when I'm called up for jury duty, I go and I do it. And I don't because, I do that because, to me, the very fabric of what makes this country is so important. And if I have to give up a day to sit in a room
And listen to a
because
bunch
it's
of
my
craziness.
civic duty means something to me. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so, because that means something to me, I completely understand feeling like if jury duty is the fabric of this country, what makes that fabric is the democracy. And the democracy doesn't exist without the vote. That's how important the vote is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who wins or loses, all right? Personally, I care who wins or loses, right? Russ cares who wins or loses. But when I go out my front door and I put on my either back then it was my Air Force cap or now it's my special agent jacket, then I am an agent of this great country, right?
Yes, sir.
And so I don't care who wins. I want it to be done correctly.
Exactly.
And if somebody's going to try to wiggle around that or nudge it or grease it in any way, I take great exception to that.
And that's how I feel also.
And that's what I'm glad to hear. That's what I'm getting from you. That's the vibe I'm getting from you. And what I can say is, if you are like me on that, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. And I don't want to take that from you. I don't want to extinguish that light at all.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
I am with you 1,000% on that. But what I need to be clear on, I need to be absolutely clear on before we leave here, is exactly what the basis was for this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's those specific words, which were across the room in dead air when they were speaking in normal tone, I need to make sure that is that what this entire allegation is based on, or is it more their actions? Because what I understand, and if you don't know anything about this, you tell me,
Mm-hmm.
but what I understand and what actually makes me question what's going on in this building is he actually was having ballots collected.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes. He was having us collect the ballots up till the 6th.
Okay.
That was one of the things in that safety meeting before we left, is we were collecting the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th.
Okay. So let me rewind again, and then we're going to
Okay.
come right back to this. I'm leading the conversation, the what you overheard
Mm-hmm.
for a second. We'll come back to that. But I want to focus on this safety meeting because
Okay.
what I'm really interested in is him.
It was Stephanie that was giving us the safety.
Thank you for doing that. But is it Rob who?
I'm pretty certain. No.
Tell me.
Stephanie said we were to give the ballots to our supervisor, this closing supervisor, at the end of the day.
Who is your closing supervisor?
At that time, it was Chris.
Chris, okay. And just for my benefit, who is Steph?
Stephanie, I don't know her actual position. I think she's somewhere like, you know about Stephanie, but I'm not sure what she does.
Okay.
She's like a postmaster assistant or something.
Okay.
You can never really tell with the postmaster and Stephanie on who is one and actually in charge of this place.
So Stephanie ran this safety meeting.
Yeah, she's the one that went to each and every bay, letting them know.
So it wasn't a big group that you all went and sat in a room.
No.
She had an individual meeting with each person.
No, she went to each bay.
Each bay. Okay.
Each bay and was at the 10s and 11s, the 9s and 8s. Then you have the 7s and the 2s.
So when she spoke to you, how many other people were there?
Well, you saw that area that we were in, where those cases were. All those cases.
How many is that?
20 or so.
Like 20? Okay.
And she went to each bay, letting them know, pick up all these ballots.
What did she say specifically? What did she say? And when was this?
This was on the 5th because
This was on the
I
5th.
called off on the 4th. So yeah.
Okay, you didn't work on the 4th.
No, that's why the 4th thing, overhearing the 4th thing.
Right.
I know I heard the 4th, and I know I heard one ballot was marked the 4th.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can be very specific at this point right now because it's been.
Yep.
You're making me question myself at this point.
You know what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
That's my purpose here.
Okay.
I'm not. Well, I am actually. I am trying to twist you a little bit because in that, believe it or not, your mind will kick in.
Okay.
We like to control our mind, and when we do that, we can convince ourselves of a memory. But when you're under a little bit of stress, which is what I'm doing to you purposely, your mind can be a little bit clearer. And we're going to do a different exercise too to make your mind a little bit clearer. Okay.
Good to go.
So, but this is all on purpose. Okay?
Roger.
So, on the 5th, Stephanie comes by your bay.
Yes.
And what does she say?
She says that we need to collect
as word for word as you can do it. Okay.
Oh man.
As you can. This is not.
Make sure to collect all the ballots that you find on the street. Every vote counts. Okay. It's very specific on that part.
On the 5th, she's saying.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
She would run around and saying, make sure to get them ballots, and that was like a big deal. She was running around yelling.
You also said something about having to turn them into.
Oh yeah, turning them into the supervisor, which was already a thing that we were doing prior to the election being over. It was you bring them in, you give them to the supervisor, he puts them in a special thing, they take it to the county.
Okay. Did she say anything about postmarking?
No, because that's not our job.
Okay.
That is not our problem. Somebody else does that.
Have you ever postmarked anything?
No, I won't even know how to do it.
Okay. So then she comes and does rah, go get the ballots.
Go get those ballots.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're finishing your casing.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 20 people, I'm just using 20. It could have been 11. It could have been 29.
There was maybe 2 other people there, and they were behind me.
Okay. So there were probably 3 of you left. Right?
In that bay specifically.
You are finishing your casing.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to do it again. Tell me what you heard, what made you pause, and then what happened when you stuck your head out. Okay.
Okay. I heard specifically what I heard was 4th ballots picked up, and then I heard them say something about the markings being on the 3rd. One was the 4th. That's it. And that's when I poked my head out and went, what? I actually said, what? And that's part of the reason why Rob immediately turned his head and saw me, and then they walked away.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
The fire in your belly, okay, which I'm already validating. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The fire in your belly. As best you can answer, because you may say it's equal. I don't know. What stings you harder? Okay, this conversation you heard, or what they're doing by sort of segregating these ballots the way they're doing?
I would say the conversation, the fact that I heard that they're, based on my assumption on what I could hear, was that they were postmarking them the 3rd that were picked up on the 4th, and that immediately, because they're making this big deal about picking up these ballots. I'm not alone in feeling that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
That was a red flag.
You're not alone in feeling
that was a red flag to me, a huge red flag. And mind you, I voted for Trump, but I'm a libertarian. I voted libertarian across the board except for him.
We don't need to report that, by the way.
Oh, and that's not necessary. I mean, I'm just saying that for your understanding, that I'm not specifically, like, I honestly told one of my liberal friends that works here, and I'm like, dude, I don't care who wins. If Biden wins, I'm going to laugh.
Right.
I don't care. I just want it done properly.
Yeah.
Legally. There is a legal manner in this, and if we're picking up ballots, somebody's got a question. Why is nobody like, why are we doing this? And everybody, there was a bunch of people.
There's a lot of people that are saying, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So I'm going to drill down a little bit, okay? Because you said something very significant, and you may not have realized it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What you said is, and this is what I believe happened with one portion of this, and the portion I'm speaking about is what you overheard.
Mm-hmm.
That's specifically where I'm focusing right now. What you just said is, when we were talking about fire in the belly, is you said what I assumed I overheard.
Yeah, because I didn't specifically hear the whole story.
That's right.
I just heard a part of it, and I could have missed a lot of it.
You heard words which you and I both know probably go together in a very specific sense.
Yes.
Right? But the reality of it, if I'm shaving away everything down to the narrowest truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, please don't let me put words in your mouth. The reality is, you heard words and you assumed what they were saying.
My mind probably added the rest. I understand that.
No,
I understand how hearsay and listening.
You have to know it seems so basic, Alex, but you have to know how important it is. That's why.
That's why I was really mad when I heard that people were giving Rob death threats, because that's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. It also doesn't paint you in a bad light. You understand that, right? What it does is it shaves this down to the narrowest of truths, which is the strongest of truths. And what I'm hearing you say, and I'm waiting for you to challenge me, okay? What I'm hearing you say is, you heard these words. And the words you heard was the 4th postmark. Most were the 3rd, one was the 4th.
Yes.
Right?
Those were the specific words that I remember real well.
And then when you pieced those words together, you assumed what they were saying was the 4th, the mail on the 4th should have been postmarked for the 3rd.
Yes.
That's what you assumed it meant.
That's what I'm figuring my mind probably gone to. Because even I've been questioning it at this point, because it's been so long and it's got me so freaked out.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm not trying to say that I don't want any. I don't.
You know why it's okay to be freaked out? Because this has gotten out of everybody's hands.
I understand.
It's gotten so.
And all it is hearsay, and that's the worst part.
It's not even hearsay is the thing. It's an assumption, and that's the important thing. And if we characterize it as this is what I thought those words meant, then there's no way that huge stones can be lobbed at you, because that's very different than saying they said this.
Yes.
Right? Because we've gone from painting a probable to being 1,000% in your face accurate. Right? You see where I'm going with that? And that's all I'm doing with that conversation. Is because we know it's hard to hear there. I'm not saying you didn't. I believe you did. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I believe you can hear there because your ears acclimate. But it's a lot of dead air there.
Mm-hmm.
Which means if you would have said, I heard this word for word, and you would have given me a paragraph, I would have doubted you.
Yes.
Because I don't think that's possible.
It's not feasible.
When I said something in this tone to you, you didn't hear what I said.
Yes.
Right? So, I believe we've gone from what's improbable to accuracy. And I believe the accuracy of the situation is you heard something that concerns you, and if
And
it
added
means-
with all the stuff
if
that
it
was
means
being
what
brought.
you assumed it means, it is problematic.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, added with how they were treating these ballots, I was picking up these ballots with what I had heard and the assumption based on putting two and two together.
I'm gonna tell you why. One of the things I'm trying to protect you against. Okay. There is money involved in this, and you know that because of this
GoFundMe. I can't even touch it.
That's okay, but your name is associated with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I'm not scaring you, but I am scaring you here. Okay. If we are not 1,000% accurate with our honesty, and it can be argued that money was gained by, I'm going to say assumptions, they're going to say deceptions, that is, you could be held accountable for.
Understood.
And I am not going to allow that.
Okay.
That is why we're going to the exact words and the exact accuracy, because I'm not going to let you be put in that situation. Okay? Most people, and this is, let me tell you how you're impressing me, Alex, because most people would see dollar signs and be like, I'll say whatever the hell you want me to say.
Yes.
Right? And what you just proved to me is that's not you. And I have to tell you, I respect you immensely. So thank you for being upfront with me.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I feel like the truth needed to get out. That's all. I wanted this investigation to happen. That's why I even came out the first time. I wanted to be anonymous. I didn't want to come out, but
you didn't want to be the face of this.
No.
Am I correct with that? But if what you assumed was true, your pride in this country can't let you not act. Is
Yes.
that also fair?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What would you say? I'm making, just so you know, I'm making this up. This is not reality right now. I'm making this up. This is a hypothetical. What would you say if it came out that Rob did not say that? He used those words, but he was actually saying something else.
I would feel fucking horrible.
Would you believe that? Would you believe it's possible?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
It's possible.
Okay. That what I'm doing right now is I'm gauging your percentage on how
Like, I know I'm not perfect.
exactly. Dude, I'm not perfect. Do you know how many people are perfect in this
It doesn't
building?
exist.
Nobody. Nobody's perfect. Dude, I have messed up. And it happens. What I am literally doing right now is I am keeping something at, it was an assumption, and keeping it away from, this is an integrity issue. I'm not going to let your integrity be touched. And that's why I'm drilling you so hard. That you with me on that?
I understand.
You trust me on that?
Yes.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you. You need a break? You need a breath?
I could use a smoke.
Okay. I am okay if you want to take a smoke break. I'm going to ask you a favor, though. Do you mind not talking to anybody while you do that?
I understand.
Are you okay? Can I make that directive of you?
Yes.
Okay. If you promise me not to talk to me, I'm including texts and phones, okay? If you promise that, please go take a smoke break.
All right.
Okay? You need anything from me?
No.
We okay so far, you and me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, do you want one of these guys to go with me so that they...
I'm happy for that, but if you tell me that you don't need that, let me ask you something. Because there's actually a two-sided coin here. Would it keep people off your back if somebody was sort of in your vicinity?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know if people are with me or against me. I just feel like I'm in a situation where I'm freaked out half the time being here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's go this way.
Okay.
Yeah, door's right here. Door's right here.
Wow, that one. Good to go. You don't have to buzz out?
No. I don't have a lighter up over there.
I got one.
70s.
I'm not.
You want the snow?
No, but I'm just not used to this around this time of year.
You're right, though. When we came up, I'm like, I hope the God it's not snowing in 34. And it's supposed to be like 73.
That's normal around here.
That's what I thought, too. I thought for sure it was going to start snowing. So, I'm just glad that it's not, but unfortunately, I think I looked at the weather. It's supposed to get cold this week at some point, Wednesday or Thursday. Which it should have. I get that, but I'm glad it's not hailing sideways. It's wrong sideways. You ever try to vape or you just smoke?
I just smoke. I've attempted vaping, but I'm just a smoker, man.
What? So, let me. Does vape get you the same, or no? Is that why you went back to smoking?
It's just not the same sort of feeling, I guess you could say. Smoking I've just done since I was 16.
I just feel like the flavors in vaping aren't the flavors of smoking. You know, when you smoke, you get that. You know, in vaping, it's like that vanilla, or green apple, or peach.
Yeah, that's definitely weird.
Yeah, that's what I want to. I don't smoke, but if I would, I don't know if I'd do that whole fruity stuff, you know. Yeah,
Like Fedorko said he knew you. One of the carriers in here. Fedorko, he was like, oh, I know that guy.
know us?
Yeah. He mentioned you like doing a class or something. I don't know.
You good?
Yeah.
Hey, just every temperature, make sure it works well.
I'm just waiting on David Klein real quick, so.
Okay.
You all right, man?
Yeah. Just.
Do we need to close this door, right?
Yeah, is that closed?
Will you?
Perfect.
Dude,
I know. Old school as
look
hell.
how old school that is.
And that was part of the things that gave me away was I was wearing the vest with the old school symbol. I'm the only one that wears it.
Fine, for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I talk to you for 1 second?
Sure.
Yeah, I've seen this before. I've never worn it.
There's one guy in our office that wears it.
Like, even that looks different than that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this wasn't the stories this can tell. Nope. No, it doesn't say. Just hang this up. I don't even know who this is.
It's crazy. I've got another huge shitty route to do today. Still haven't even got the Spurs. 307.
Sounds good to me. We're good, man.
We're good?
Wait, what? I'm good. I don't know if you're good.
Oh, need to come back in here
Come on.
and continue this.
When we first started, you were laughing at my jokes. Now you don't even understand them.
Sorry.
I'm going downhill. You good?
Yeah.
Do you need to use the restroom right
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm good too. And what I mean by that is you're proving you're good.
And I think I said this before, but I appreciate that.
Why does everybody carry millions of cell phones?
Dude, it's ridiculous.
I don't want to.
I hate being that plugged in. All right, I'm going to start with some outside questions. I'm going to bring us back in again.
Okay.
Again, it's on purpose. If you want to ask me why I'm doing something, you're allowed to. My goal with you is to be transparent, but there is reason I'm doing all this. I'm going to talk Project Veritas for a second.
Okay.
Okay. What sort of Project Veritas is not on trial here.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to understand that. But my concern is not them. My concern is you.
Yes.
That is why I'm here. Okay. And so, what sort of advice have they been giving you? What sort of?
If any media company tries to get a hold of me, to let them know, and they will vet them to see if they were going to write a bad story about me or whatnot. So they kind of go through the whole rigmarole of they've got teams working on stuff like that. They tell me not to talk to anybody really about it. You know,
there are going to be a lot of people wanting to talk to you.
I know. And unless they know about it, they're basically, like I said, they're trying to help me in case of legal ramifications and stuff. They've got my back, I guess you could say.
Okay. I'm going to say something, and this does not reflect my feelings on them one way or the other. Okay. It behooves them to have your back
Yes.
because you're giving them an exclusive.
Yes.
Okay. So when they say they're vetting and do everything through them, if that makes you feel comfortable,
Yes.
do that. Okay. This is the Russ Strasser advice. Do that, but don't ever feel like you have to do that because they get a major benefit by keeping you close. Does that make sense to you? But on the flip side of that, they may give you a sense of security that you wouldn't have otherwise, and that has value to it as well. Okay, but I just want you to know that some of their goodwill towards you is self-motivated.
Yes.
As long as you understand that. Okay, so they told you not to talk to anybody. They told you to be very careful about people contacting you, but other news agencies and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of legal paperwork or anything they have you working towards, or
The affidavit.
Okay.
That's the only thing. The affidavit saying that.
When did you do the affidavit?
2 or 3 days ago.
And then you went and had it notarized,
Yes.
and you sent it to them.
They've got a guy here.
They haven't got here.
Yes.
Do you have regular meetings with him? Any of
Yes.
this you're uncomfortable with?
Yes.
You can tell me you're uncomfortable
I
with.
do actually.
Okay. How often do you see him?
About once a day we talk, and if I needed to, it's been kind of like my guidance on what to do with this craziness. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I've even asked, I was like, what the hell do I do with this money if I don't lose my job? I was like, I mean, I don't know how to give it back. So it's been a thing.
I'm relieved you're already thinking of that. The real complication for you comes in with this money.
Yeah.
Because we have to make sure that this money cannot be painted as ill-gotten. Okay, and so
The only reason I even set up that GoFundMe is because James O'Keefe said, okay, if you're going to come out, because at that point I was like, I guess I have to come out because I've noticed weird things with my work. At that point, on Friday, yeah, it was Friday when I came in, I watched all the freaking supervisors and the freaking stewards for the union go into the back, and then all of a sudden, one of the stewards comes out and goes, "Hey, I need you to give me that statement for something that happened, a PDI that happened in June."
Union's not on your side?
No.
Okay.
That's what's got me really bothered. That's why I ended up coming out. I didn't want to come out. I just wanted the words to get out there so you guys would show up and that'd be it.
You don't feel like you have any support?
No.
I just missed that real quick. What about the GoFundMe? You said that they told you.
Yeah, once I came out, they were like, as soon as they wanted me to set up the GoFundMe, as soon as I came, they dropped the video. That way, when shit goes down, because like I said, they were bringing up old PDIs and whatnot in the office.
But to be very clear, this is not a Project Veritas GoFundMe. This is
for me.
You set it up, and this is people giving you money.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not money they're collecting that they will earmark for you.
Yeah.
This is you're doing that, right?
Yes, they showed me how to set it up, and I was the one clicking the button. They told me to do it though.
Were they going to get any portion of the GoFundMe?
No, not a dime. It was for in the case that I lost my job or something went haywire, and I needed to get that hell out of here.
A lot is on your shoulders. Put one more little speck on your shoulder because I want you to be aware. I want you to have information and not have everybody telling you. Okay? This is not me condemning Project Veritas. I want you to be really clear on that. Okay? If you are comfortable with them, that is good for you. But they have also set this up so that if there is anything that goes on with this money where they claim that it was ill-gotten or that you're on the hook for it, you understand you're on the hook for this. Their hands are totally off of this. They told you what to do, but they made you do it. So I want you to be, this is me to you, I want you to be exceedingly clear that everything is okay before you do anything with that money.
I don't even plan on
Okay.
I can't even touch it. GoFundMe's got it on review, and never, from the moment it started, they put it on review and said you will not be able to withdraw. So I'm not
that's
even
because
touching it.
that's because their GoFundMe's protecting themselves.
Yeah.
I just don't want everybody protecting themselves and then Alec be the one holding the bag when somebody wants to say this money was the reason this happened. You understand what I'm saying?
And I've heard people say that on there, and I'm like, I had no
I-
idea this would even
I have
happen.
to tell you, I believe you. I'm in your corner on this. I want you to take care of you.
Yes.
You believe me on that?
I
Because
understand.
that's why I'm here.
Good to go.
Okay? I want to go back to the ballots.
Okay.
Okay? When you, well, let's do the 5th. The 5th was the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
After you heard the conversation, you were done casing. Did you go out?
Yeah, I pulled down and I went out. I think I talked to Zanya first, and I was like, holy shit.
Help me with Zanya. Who's Zanya?
Zanya's one of the other carriers.
Okay.
She's one of the ones I felt like I could trust even bringing it up to.
Okay.
And I told her what I heard, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. It's freaking me out. So she sent me a different person to contact, but I was already thinking Project Veritas because I'd heard about them. I knew this was the kind of thing they looked into.
Did you work a route?
Huh?
Did you go out to a route that day?
Yes.
Okay, you did go out.
Yes.
Okay.
I was
Did
out
you talk to her when you were on the route or before you left?
before we left.
Gotcha.
We were both out on the bay.
Gotcha.
talking.
Did your route, then I'm assuming you had ballot mail on that route that day. Is that correct or not?
I had one.
You had one. What did you do with that ballot?
Turned it in.
The way you were told to.
Yes.
So you gave it to Chris.
Yes.
Okay.
Do as I'm told, but notice that there's some funky, basically.
Okay. Did you do anything extra?
I wrote on there, but the date, that's it.
What did you write on there?
The date.
Tell me specifically what you wrote on there.
11/05/20.
11/05/20. Where did you write it?
Hidden on the back, where they wouldn't even notice it.
Okay.
Kind of situation.
Okay. But that was on one ballot.
Yes.
Okay. And then you went to Chris
Mhm.
and handed him the ballot?
I just put it on his desk.
You didn't see him?
Yeah, he was on the ballot, but I knew where the ballots were. They have a special little box for the ballots at that point.
Any guess how many were in there?
Like 4 or 5 at that point. But that was it for that day.
For that day, right.
Yeah.
Do you know, and it's okay if you don't, do you know, let's just go with your ballot that you wrote on, because now I can specifically cite a ballot. This is the one that has been marked. Do you know what happened to that ballot after that? After it went in that bin, do you know what happens in this building with the ballots?
No.
At all? No?
No.
Do you know if Rob has a role with that at all? With what happens to the ballots?
He's gone usually by early.
Do you know if Steph has a role in that?
They're usually gone by 3.
Okay.
My understanding is.
So if they're gone by 3, who's like the head supervisor at that point?
The closing supervisor
And that's Chris?
at that point in time, yes.
Okay. Do you know Chris's last name?
Leonardi.
Leonardi?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it changes who's in charge.
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
closing.
That's typical actually. But that particular day it was Chris, right? We're not getting Chris in trouble, just so you understand. I am trying to figure
Hell,
out.
he's my landlord.
Oh no, are you serious?
I'm not even kidding you.
Oh my god.
We're really not getting Chris in trouble.
What are the chances of that?
Yeah, he's my landlord. I mean,
Have you spoken with him at all?
I have.
And
He said that that's just false. That's all fake. I was like, I'm telling you what I heard. That's all I can tell you is that I heard this. Not sure how much of the conversation. I even told him, I was like, I don't know how much of the conversation I heard. I just know I heard this and it freaked me out.
so, Alex, I'm going to do a quick recap before we go further, okay? Just because, honestly, I thought there was a lot more that you were part of with the ballots going through. And now that I know that you're not, that makes our time together a lot easier. It really focuses your entire involvement in this. And then what I'll do is I'll change my focus to people who actually know what the next step with those ballots were. I'm not going to put that on your back anymore, okay? But I do want to be very clear on what I am hearing from you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to express to you again what my goal is. My goal is to protect you. And the way I know to protect you is to shave off everything and get the narrowest of truths, so it's the most solid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You're good with me still on that? So this is what I know that I am going to repeat to you about the 5th of November. Okay? You are welcome to correct me at any point.
Okay.
Okay? You come in to do your normal thing on the 5th. You were off on the 4th. You knew that ballots were a big deal, most specifically because Steph was going around bay to bay and doing a little rah-rah speech. In her rah-rah speech, she said, make sure you collect all the ballots on your route, go out there and vote, or voting is good or something. Thank you. It's not go out and vote, we're 2 days after.
Every
vote counts, and make sure to turn the ballot mail, take that separately, segregate it, and give it to Chris.
No, not specifically his name, but
the
closing
supervisor, who happened to be Chris.
Yes.
You went about your deal. You were casing the bay that you were given to case that day. Excuse me. And while you were there, you overheard a conversation between Robert and Daniel. Daryl, thank you. Robert and Daryl. And what perked your ears is you heard the words, the 4th, correct? And then you heard the words,
they did the 3rd.
They did the 3rd, but one was for the 4th.
Yes.
That's what you heard.
Yes.
Right? And from that, your very logical assumption was they're talking about backdating postmarks.
Yes.
Am I correct so far? That was an assumption on your part.
It is an assumption.
And what you said to me was, if it came out that a different conversation is actually what had occurred using those words, you would believe it.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, I didn't hear the whole conversation.
I'm just to be sure, you heard exactly the words you heard were, can you tell me again?
The 4th, the ballots picked up on the 4th. The all but one was marked the 3rd, except for one which was marked the 4th.
Okay, I'm gonna
so
go.
You heard marked.
I'm gonna go specific with you.
4th?
I'm gonna go specific with you, and then we're gonna go word for word. Okay, becomes important. I'll explain. Okay, what you and I talked about was you heard ballots on the 4th. And then you heard all were the 3rd, one was the 4th.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to get specific with you because that's what you and I talked about. And this is going to be hard because now we're going to splice it word for word. And I'll explain why afterwards, okay? All for the 3rd, one for the 4th, right? If I say that, you would say that is an accurate representation of part of what you heard, right? I'm going to change it. All postmarked on the 3rd, one postmarked on the 4th.
Okay.
That doesn't change the meaning you and I are talking about, but that changes the wording. You and I talked about, you heard all for the 4th, one for the 3rd, right? Or all for the 3rd, one for the 4th. I didn't mean to do that for you. Did you, and it's a perfectly acceptable answer is I don't remember. Did you hear the word postmark?
I do believe somewhere in there, yes, I did hear postmarked. That's why.
Do you know where specifically in that? It's okay to say I don't
know
remember.
The postmarked 4th.
Postmarked 4th.
Yes.
The beginning.
No,
At
the end. Postmarked 4th.
So you heard marked.
One was postmarked the 4th.
All 3rd, one postmarked 4th.
Yes.
That's what you heard.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
You know you heard the word postmark.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Did you ever hear the word backdate?
No.
Did you ever hear the word remark?
No.
Okay.
Remark.
Yep. Go with me on this. Okay. I'm going back to where I was. Okay, so we had said those were the words you heard. We're gonna make sure we say that you heard the word postmark. Okay. Then from that, you assumed what the logical meaning of that would be, right?
Putting two and two together, yes.
Right. That's why I'm using the word logical, right?
Yeah.
You assumed what the logical meaning of that would be, and you were concerned.
Yes.
You were concerned enough to immediately speak with, and I forgot her name.
Zonya.
About it. And after doing your route, you were concerned enough to
contact Veritas.
Stay with me. Let me
Okay.
You were concerned enough to sort of secretly mark the one ballot you got, right? Because you were concerned enough. And then you were concerned enough that you reached out to Project Veritas. Is that an accurate
yes.
representation of your full involvement in this entire situation?
Yes.
Did I leave anything out?
No.
Okay. Because once you contacted Project Veritas, this thing grew its own legs and started running. Am I right with that? And then you've sort of been on reaction mode ever since.
Yes.
Right. Okay. What I'm relieved about is that that was where your involvement stopped, because I didn't know if you had to follow the ballots, whatever this building was doing with the ballots, if you were more involved in that.
No.
But you were not. Your sole involvement was a very concerning conversation, and then you tried to protect one ballot by marking it where people wouldn't know you marked it, right? And you marked it by 11:05:20, right? That's your outwardly involvement. That is
it.
That is it, right? Because everything else was you were listening to stuff, or you were maybe consoling in Zonya. I'm not going to get her name right. Is it Zonya? Okay.
Like Tanya with a Z.
Yeah, exactly.
I was saying Sonya with a Z. So my goal here is to protect you, and the best way to protect you is by getting this down in paper. Okay, and so
Before we go, I have one other thing that I wanted to try to touch upon, if you could help me out, and that was the affidavit. I wanted to talk about, just to make sure, because obviously we're here, it's like he said repeatedly, we need to make sure that everything is scrubbed and nothing can come back to hurt you, okay? And I want to go through this paragraph to make sure what we're dealing with.
I'm old, I'm sorry. It's making me
How old are you?
Beg your pardon. 49.
49. Oh, yes. Sure, young.
I'm 32.
Shut up, you.
I feel old.
You're talking about paragraph 3 here.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it aloud, and then we'll talk about it. Okay? And Agent Klein will answer questions as he sees fit.
So you're wanting me to fix my affidavit?
Yeah, I'm wanting to make sure that the affidavit is correct, or if it's not, I want to make sure it's fixed.
Okay.
Here and now.
All right.
Okay. I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm going to read paragraph 3, and then if we have more after paragraph 3, we'll deal with that, okay? I'm going to read it aloud so we're all on the same page. Is that fair? All right, paragraph 3. Although, as I understand Pennsylvania law, ballots must be postmarked by 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 3rd, 2020 in Pennsylvania, Postmaster Rob Weisenbach, did I say it right?
Yeah.
Weisenbach, directed my coworkers and I to pick up ballots after Election Day and provide them to him. As discussed more fully below, I heard Weisenbach tell a supervisor at my office that Weisenbach was backdating the postmarks on the ballots to make it appear as though the ballots had been collected on November 3, 2020, despite them in fact being collected on November 4 and possibly later.
That's definitely a lot more specific than what I would have.
Would you agree with me that based on what you and I discussed today, that this paragraph, and I haven't read the rest of the affidavit, but this paragraph specifically, number 3, has a significant amount of interpretation in it.
Yes.
And interpretation is not necessarily fact. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And so would you agree that if this paragraph were to reflect a very narrow truth that is 100% accurate, that it probably should be amended or caveated in some way?
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like us to go through this and do the amendments and caveats, or is him just acknowledging that this is a lot of interpretation and not necessarily fact? Is that significant?
It was written up by the Veritas' lawyer.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so, but just so I'm getting this correct, as we sit here today, you wouldn't swear to that paragraph?
At this point, no.
Okay.
I didn't even wasn't, when we were talking about it, it made.
I'm going to get a little legal on you for a second. And I'm actually very glad that Agent Klein brought this up, because again, this is an opportunity for us to protect you. I absolutely believe you 1,000% that their lawyers wrote this up. And what they did is they took your story and they wrote it up as they understood you saying it. The problem with affidavits are, although they are a legal document, they are something that you sign. And so when you sign and notarize an affidavit, what you are saying is, this is 100% accurate.
Okay.
These can be used as my words. That's why my signature is here. Okay? So I just want you to understand that although someone else wrote it, you signed it. You signed it as being accurate. You're okay. You're okay. All right? Because that's why I wanted to talk to you. Because I don't want you swept up in all this when later down the road you're left holding the bag and people are being like, you know, we're going to address this today. And one of the ways we're going to address it that I recommend, I'm not going to force you to do anything, is first and foremost, right now, I may change my mind in 5 minutes, but right now I'm not going to do a polygraph with you.
Okay.
Okay? Right now, I think we are better off if we do a updated signed statement.
Okay.
Are you with me on that?
I
Do
understand.
you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Do you understand it's voluntary?
Yes.
Okay, but do you understand how this
Will save my ass. Yes.
will? Your words, yes.
Yes, but it's true at this point because yes, you're
I
right.
want to do.
I didn't even think too much on it when I was reading it. So
I understand.
it's a lot of lawyering.
It's a lot. It's a lot of lawyering, and you can get swept up. Okay. I think what I'm going to do, and Agent Klein, you direct me if you think this is overkill. I think I'm going to read each of these paragraphs aloud.
Okay.
And I think that we are going to have Agent Klein make notes from what you say, not from what I say. From what you say probably should be amended or caveated in each paragraph. And then we'll decide what you should put in your updated statement. But at a minimum, I want to go paragraph by paragraph and we'll number them. And I want Agent Klein to write down what you feel could make it more accurate.
Okay.
You good with me on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is not backing you in a corner. I'm still here with you. Okay? Okay? Can you, don't want to get all up in your business. Actually, I do. Never give Russ Strasser your phone. Tell me you're okay.
I'm all right.
Do you need to take a breath?
Good.
Okay. You're looking overwhelmed.
It's all overwhelming.
Okay. Tell me you're okay with me. Okay. All right. The beginning of it, I, Richard Hopkins, declare as follows. Okay? So, number one, I am over the age of 18 and I, oh gosh, 50 years old. Quiet you. I am over the age of 18 and am legally competent to make this declaration. I have personal knowledge of the facts contained herein. If called upon, I could and would completely testify under oath as to the facts stated herein. I'm going to talk, but nothing is going to be written down that is not from you. Understand? So you don't have to agree with anything that I say.
Okay.
I think if I were to change that at all, I would say that the facts in the affidavit need clarification, and that you are willing to stand by whatever clarification we do here today.
Okay.
Does that seem fair to you? Does that seem acceptable to you? So on paragraph 1.
The facts need clarification.
The facts contained within the affidavit dated on, I don't know, sorry.
It's page by page.
Here we go. Dated on 6 November.
So how is being a postal inspector?
Well, post office is weird, first of all, because we're the only entity that has 2 law enforcement agencies. One's the Postal Inspection Service, and one's the Office of Inspector General. And actually, they're very different. And so I don't know what it's like being an inspector, because I'm not.
So we're agents, they're inspectors, so it's a little bit different, although it's getting more and more muddy because we work so much drugs now.
I remember you guys were here a while when I first started, like 3 years ago, for like a drug bust, I think.
Yeah.
Where they had everybody up in here.
I've worked drugs for the last 3 years.
I can't work the phone. I'm sorry, dude.
It's alright.
Showing my age.
I know this thing's just gotten way out of hand,
Buddy,
in my opinion.
It has, and that's why we're here.
Can I tell you something? That's my opinion too. If I didn't believe that you were true, if I didn't believe in who you are, we'd be having, I hope you believe, we'd be having a completely different conversation. Okay? So I do believe this has gotten completely out of hand, and right now we are sort of filling in as many potholes as we can, because the smoother we can make your road, that's what's going to protect you. All these other entities and people out there that are quote unquote protecting you, I'm nervous that they're self-interested, and so that's why I'm here. That's why he's here. Okay. All right. So we did one.
So the facts contained in the affidavit dated 11/6/20 need to be
should be amended for accuracy. Is that fair?
Should be amended for accuracy. Okay.
Now, will people start coming out and saying I'm a liar because I'm saying this?
So a couple things. I'm not going to go tell anybody anything unless you tell me to, because most of this is going to be what we call casework, which are documents and whatnot that all go into an investigation. And nobody can have access to our casework unless they go through a legal process to have them reviewed or released. And a normal citizen has to go through a Freedom of Information Act to do that, and that takes forever. And so we're not going to go hanging you out to dry. I'm going to recommend when you have your meeting with Project Veritas today, if you haven't already, that you
I haven't. No,
that you tell him that there is an updated statement.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me you're okay.
I'm all right.
Okay. I'm just going to keep checking in. All right. Paragraph 2.
Are you capable of sending that to me so I can the changes or whatever?
I can't answer that. That would be his boss, but we certainly can see.
Before we get finished, you will have a good answer.
Okay.
On how that goes.
Because that way I can at least be able to amend it.
Yeah.
So it's not like, so that when this does come down, nobody's going to call me.
The only hesitation I can see, but it might be a legit hesitation, is since this is an official federal investigation that's happening right now with you and I, and so that would be part of an actual casework that's federal, and Project Veritas is a private entity, they may, our bosses may put the brakes on that just for handing things out. But this may also be a unique situation. So that's my way to say, we'll definitely bring your concerns up and we'll definitely try, but I don't know what they're gonna say.
Okay.
Because they may say this is an investigation and we don't release case details. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying for the amending it, so
Mhm.
that it's, because it's currently there.
It may be one of those things where you may not have a copy of the statement because that's something that, like, this is an ongoing case, but it may be something where you tell Project Veritas,
There is an updated affidavit.
an updated statement, this is what the direction that it's headed. And, you know, we'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we'll definitely talk everything through with you. Okay?
Sure.
All right. Again, I'm here for you, so I want to answer any questions that you have. Okay?
Okay.
Let's do this first, and then we'll get to that. Fair?
Good deal.
You good? Okay. I have not done 2, correct? 2. I am an employee of the United States Postal Service. I work as a carrier in Erie, Pennsylvania, post office.
That's true.
That's all true. 2, I would say, no changes.
3 is the one that needs changes.
3, we already know needs changes. Let me read it in its entirety for the 3 of us again, and then we'll maybe go line by line, or just overall say what needs to be changed. Okay, tell me you're okay.
Yeah,
I know you are. I just need to keep checking. You're the one with the world on your shoulders. That's why I keep checking in.
That's
Okay.
the same part.
Okay. Here we go. Although I understand Pennsylvania law, although as I understand Pennsylvania law, ballots must be postmarked by 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 3, 2020 in Pennsylvania. Postmaster Rob Weisenbach directed my coworkers and I to pick up ballots after Election Day and to provide them to him. As directed more fully below, I heard Weisenbach tell a supervisor at my office that Weisenbach was backdating the postmarks on the ballots to make it appear as though the ballots had been collected on November 3, 2020, despite them, in fact, being collected on November 4 and possibly later. Okay, so the first thing that we need to say is when it says Postmaster Rob Weisenbach directed my coworkers and I to pick up ballots after Election Day and provide them to him. What you and I discussed today was it wasn't Rob, it was Steph.
Stephanie.
And Stephanie, all you know, if I'm correct, is all Stephanie said is give it to the closing supervisor.
Yes.
You did not know if it went to Rob. You did not know what happened to him after that. You just know you handed it to the closing supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay, so the First Amendment needs to be that the direction.
My ballots and hand them off.
The direction came from Steph. What's your last name?
I don't know.
Okay, we need to find that out. You're okay.
I don't know last names if they go by their first name here.
And she directed the coworkers
Pick up ballots.
to provide any ballots after Election Day to the closing supervisor. Yes? Okay. That's that sentence. Okay, the next sentence reads, as discussed more fully below, I heard Weisenbach tell the supervisor at my office that Weisenbach was backdating the postmarks on the ballots to make it appear as though the ballots had been collected on November 3, 2020, despite them, in fact, being collected on November 4 and possibly later. So that's the rest of it, and it's one sentence. And I think what we need to amend it is, from what I heard from a conversation between Weisenbach and Daryl, my logical assumption was that he was suggesting backdating of ballots. But I want to say, too, that you never heard him say to backdate. You never heard that word, right?
specified, yes, and not specific on the back page. It was.
And I have no problem with you saying your logical assumption was, okay?
Mm.
Right, so what I wrote was, from what I heard in the conversation between Rob and Daryl, my logical assumption was they were backdating ballots. I never heard the word backdating.
Fair. Explicit, I guess.
Is that right? Is that good? Okay.
All right, now we're on 4, and 4 goes over to the next page, so I'm bound to mess this up, just so you guys are prepared. Number 4, on November 5, 2020, as I was preparing my mail for delivery, I saw Weisenbach and Daryl Locke, one of the supervisors for Erie, Pennsylvania Post Office, having a discussion. Weisenbach and Locke discussed how on November 4, 2020, they had backdated the postmark on all but one of the ballots collected on November 4, 2020, to make it appear as though the ballots had instead been collected on November 3, 2020. I overheard Weisenbach tell Locke that they messed up yesterday, November 4, 2020, by accidentally postmarking one ballot as having been collected November 4, 2020, when it had actually been collected. Okay. All right, I need to get specific with you because you and I never went over the words messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that?
Oh man.
It is fair to say I'm not sure if I heard
I'm
that.
not sure.
Okay.
To be absolutely honest.
I want you to be absolutely honest, and I think that's how we can word that is, I'm not sure I heard the words messed up. Fair? Everybody okay with that? You okay with that? All right. So we're going to start again. On this is paragraph 4. On November 5, 2020, I was preparing my mail for delivery. I saw Weisenbach and Daryl, one of the supervisors, having a discussion. That's all true. Weisenbach and Locke discussed how on November 4 they had backdated the postmarks. So we need to say, from the words I overheard, my logical assumption was they were discussing backmarking ballots. Is that fair?
And that they had brought up only one was marked the 4th. That's all I do remember that specifically. It was the one was marked the 4th.
Okay, so from the words I overheard, my logical assumption was they were backdating ballots.
I do not remember clearly if the words quote unquote messed up were used. Is that fair to say? But my impression was only one ballot was postmarked on the 4th, for the 4th. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
My impression was?
so I wrote, tell me if this is accurate. I do not remember clearly if the words messed up were used, but my impression was only one ballot was marked the 4th.
Yes.
I want to end that by the way they ended it with this parenthesis, when it had actually been collected. The date it had been collected. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Just to be clear on why that's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a friendly conversation they were having either. That's one of the reasons why.
Okay. I will discuss, and maybe we'll put that in your statement. Okay. But I'm more concerned with everybody knowing the way your logic worked is why you ended up there. It wasn't a vendetta. It wasn't.
No.
It was your logical progression. Okay. But if we feel like it's important to put in there that whether or not they were having a contentious conversation, we'll do that when we're doing that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Number 5. Importantly, Weisenbach and his assistant had ordered my coworkers and I to continue picking up ballots after November 3, despite the requirement that ballots be made by then. Weisenbach directed that ballots be picked up through Friday, November 6. Moreover, Weisenbach directed that all ballots picked up through November 6 were to be given to him,
Not
presumably.
him specifically, but to.
Okay, but let's go with what it says. It says were to be given to him, presumably so that they could be backdated by him and or law. Okay. I need to ask a question for Russ Strasser. Okay? So I understand. If somebody puts something in the mail, you still have to collect it, right?
True.
So I just want to understand what this paragraph is saying.
See, that's the thing about these ballots. It's the validity of us picking them up. And I mean, I don't know.
It's
It's
okay.
so weird that we're picking up ballots because at this point they're no longer valid.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be best to inform somebody that, hey, we can't pick these up because they're no longer valid?
Yay or nay, I don't know. Or the deal is instead of having that interaction with the customer, because it was their responsibility to get it in on time, just postmarking the ballot on the correct date, and then the
But wouldn't
assistant.
it have made sense to send it to Pittsburgh at that point? To be postmarked. I mean, they wanted it separated
Right,
rather than being
right.
just thrown in the raw, which we were doing
Right.
Before, a week before.
That I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that I understand.
Yeah, now we can get behind what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
why this whole freaking the conversation, the way they were treating
But
the
to have a
ballots.
carrier out on the street basically saying, I'm not going to take your ballot.
Yeah, I understand that, but they
Yeah.
didn't want us putting it in the raw, and that just didn't make sense to me at all.
So let me read this again, and you tell me. You help me with wording on this, okay?
Okay.
Importantly, and this is why I really want to address this because they're already saying importantly. Whenever a lawyer says importantly, you know that we're getting into it. Okay. All right. Importantly, Weisenbach and his assistant had ordered my coworkers and I to continue picking up ballots after November 3, despite the requirement that ballots be mailed by then. Weisenbach directed that ballots be picked up through Friday, November 6, 2020. Moreover, Weisenbach directed that all ballots picked up through November 6, 2020 were to be given to him, presumably so that they could be backdated by him and or Locke. So the first thing on this, when I read this as if I were a layperson,
Mm-hmm.
I would be reading it saying, well, the mail carriers are not supposed to pick up ballots on their routes after Election Day.
No.
And so that's what I'm reading here.
Right.
Okay.
But
So-
rather than putting it in the raw, because I'm thinking from a carrier standpoint.
So I want to amend this.
Okay.
So I want to amend this. And I want to
It's
say,
more clear for
Yeah.
the public who reads
So-
that.
Number 5, I would say, and the words have to be yours, so correct me, please. I would say, number 5, as a carrier, it is my responsibility to pick up all mail, including ballots after the fact.
Mhm.
Right? However, my concern was
the ballots were no longer, I want to say something besides in the raw. How can I say that so it makes sense?
They weren't entering the mail stream.
The mail stream.
The ballots were not, when I brought the ballots back to the station,
We were to give it to
the ballots were not placed in the mail stream, but we were to segregate them to the with this closing supervisor.
Yeah.
Is that 100% correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's how I'd rather word it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, for me, the way it was worded before, it kind of made sense because he's the postmaster.
Right.
It's his orders above all.
Right. But again, we're going to shave this down, right? Because what this says is he said, "Do this, give it to me," and we don't know that you don't know that that's accurate.
Yeah, and that's not exactly how it was going. It was give it to the supervisors.
Right.
Which is the odd part because now we're at a point where it could just go in the raw and it will be postmarked correctly over in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I mean, you understand where my logic's coming from on this and all this stuff freaked me out.
I understand your logic perfectly. I want you to understand. There's no judgment coming from me, okay? I understand your logic perfectly. I am shaving logic away is what I'm doing. I'm shaving it away so because there's a signed affidavit that it's purely fact. That's all I'm doing.
Good to go, and it's understandable for a civilian outside.
Understandable for a civilian outside.
So this, I wrote, as a carrier, it's my responsibility to pick up all mail to include ballots after November 3rd. However, it is my concern that I was instructed to keep ballots
segregated,
collected after November 3rd from entering the mail stream.
Yes, and segregated and given to the supervisor.
By segregating them.
And giving them directly to the supervisors.
Maybe we don't need to see segregating them, but how about by giving them directly to the closing supervisor?
Right.
And then I would go further, just to be 1,000% transparent on this. I would say I'm speaking as if I'm you. Okay. I would say, to be clear, I am not certain that it was Weisenbach that gave this direction.
Okay.
Is that fair? Because it says that he directed this.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, the buck may stop with him, but this says that he went to people and told them to do it.
Okay.
You understand?
It's not specific on Weisenbach.
Although it's his operation.
Yes, it's
we
not
don't know that it
specifically
came
him,
from
even
him.
though it's his operation within the postal.
So I just want to say, to be clear, I am not certain it was Weisenbach who made this direction, although it is his post office. Is that fair?
Yes.
Although he is in charge of this post office.
But it would be weird if Stephanie's overstepping. I don't know if she's in charge of him or not. I'm not.
We don't know what her role is.
Yeah.
Right. Again, you're using logic on me.
No.
You're using logic, and I'm keeping us to facts. Right.
Good to go.
How about this? Okay. To be clear, I'm not certain it was Weisenbach who gave this direction, although he is the postmaster.
Yes. Who specifically gave this direction? I would say.
Okay.
All right, number 6.
Was there something else at the end of paragraph 5?
I can read the whole thing again to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
the last sentence.
Just the last sentence? Moreover, Weisenbach directed that all ballots be picked up through November 6th were to be given to him, presumably so they could be backdated by him and Locke.
That should be removed totally.
But that's, I tried to do that when we said given to the closing supervisor, but we can address it again and say for I don't want to say transparency because that means you weren't transparent to begin with. Did we already say to be clear?
Yes.
For further clarification, Do you just want to address the sentence and say the sentence that begins "moreover" should be removed entirely?
Yeah.
Is that fine with you?
Because that is a little excessive, because it wasn't specifically Daryl or him, you know. And I was in so much shock. I wasn't paying that much attention to what they were telling me.
Yep.
It was like, this whole thing's been putting me in shock. Like, I don't expect any of this shit. I'm just a dude. You know?
Yep.
Okay. Paragraph 6.
I do know. I don't want you thinking I'm blowing you off. I do know. I hear you, okay? 6. My understanding of Pennsylvania law is that ballots cannot be counted unless they were mailed by... Did I ever do this?
No, it's weird.
Oh, we are on 6, right?
Yes.
All right, I'll do it again. I will not pause this time. My understanding of Pennsylvania law is that ballots cannot be counted unless they are mailed by 8 p.m. on November 3, 2020. Weisenbach's comments were deeply concerning to me and appeared to me to be an attempt by Weisenbach and or Locke to improperly backdate ballots received after the legal deadline so these late ballots could be counted, something I understand to be illegal and against Pennsylvania law. Accordingly, I brought Weisenbach's information to the public through Project Veritas. I think what I would say on this one is, help me word it. What I want to say is, following my logical conclusions, I felt I had no other recourse but to report the situation in this post office, although I don't want to say the facts didn't support me, but that's sort of what I want to say. I don't want to say that.
I don't have any physical evidence of such actions that were... I really don't have any physical evidence of these things.
How about I don't have any
That paragraph's a tough one.
Although
is there anything in that paragraph that you like?
What do you mean?
Read it again, please.
there's one thing I think we may have to address, but I know where you're going with this, so I'm going to read it again, and you tell us if the whole thing was stricken, if the affidavit would be worse off, okay? My understanding of Pennsylvania law is that ballots cannot be counted unless they were mailed by 8 p.m. on November 3, 2020. Weisenbach's comments were deeply concerning to me and appeared to me to be an attempt by Weisenbach and or Locke to improperly backdate ballots received after the legal deadline so that these ballots could be counted, something I understand to be illegal and against Pennsylvania law. Accordingly, I brought Weisenbach's information to the public through Project Veritas.
Like, it's stating the truth, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to word that out
It's
of where
actually-
it feels like.
It's stating your motivation, but it's not stating the accuracy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your motivation is valid, but this is what it's talking about, is your motivation.
Right.
And I think if we were to change this paragraph, I would change the whole thing. And I would say that for your sense of duty, the assumptions that you came to, the conclusions that your assumptions led you to, motivated you to report this. Although you don't have any firsthand knowledge besides what you overheard. Yes?
Can you say that again?
Due to your sense of duty. My sense
Overheard and were instructed with the ballots.
Due to
I
my
think
sense
would
of
also-
duty.
overheard and environment. How about that?
Okay.
Due to my sense of duty.
My assumptions motivated me to make my concerns public. Fair?
always think of that word assumptions, and I think of ass of you and me. So that's why I'm sitting here thinking, like, this really does make me feel like an asshole.
It's a situation that is universal. Okay, but to finish it, we said, where are we at?
Due to my sense of duty, my assumptions motivated me to make my concerns public.
What did we say? Although my only first-hand knowledge was the
what I overheard and what was instructed of us with the picking up of the ballots. I would think informing of the picking up of the ballots and turning them directly to the supervisor rather than
Okay,
the law
so-
is kind of important.
Which those were your assumptions.
So my only first-hand knowledge was the partial conversation I overheard and the instruction to take the ballots out of to keep the ballots out of the mail stream.
Yes.
Does that cover it? Does that make you feel comfortable?
Yeah, that makes sense.
AJ Klein, does that sound okay to you?
Yes. Let me read it.
I'm going to make one change after you read it. We're doing okay.
I feel like you were doing the right thing and then you kind of regret it anyways.
I can think of many instances. Many. I'm not kidding you.
Okay. My only first-hand knowledge was the conversation I partially overheard and the order to keep the ballots out of the maelstrom.
The only thing I want to change is in the sentence before when we say something about going public.
Due to my sense of duty, my assumptions motivated me to make my concerns public.
After public, I'd like to put parentheses, Project Veritas. So that people know that that was your plan. You weren't just like willy-nilly throwing stuff out there.
No, I just went straight to Project Veritas.
I want that in.
Because I'd heard about them and I knew that they were good about doing stuff like that.
And you're good with that?
Yeah.
All right, number 7. Again, I'm going to have to flip pages, so bear with me. The next day, November 6th, I was interrogated by USPS postal
I want to say you guys interrogated me. That was I was like, I don't know how to best
what
put
did
it.
I do? I thought I was pretty nice.
I know. I was like, they're the ones that wrote this, and I was like, I guess that's a term that they use for it.
Who knowingly, let me say this here, who knowing I was the whistleblower who brought Weisenbach's directives to light, indicated they were investigating the matter. I was also approached by a representative of the Postal Worker Union who began asking me about old allegations against me which have long been resolved. I refused to be silenced, so I decided to reveal my identity and have pledged to testify regarding what I heard and what I was ordered to do. I have to be honest with you. I'm not as concerned with this paragraph. I don't really care about the word interrogate. That doesn't bother me.
I would like to fix it because I feel bad. What is a better word for it?
If you want to, but let me tell you what I don't want. What I don't want is anyone who gets this statement that we write say, well, obviously he was coerced to make this statement because they even changed the word interrogate so they would look bad. You see what I'm saying?
I don't think you have to worry about that. I haven't turned off it. I was told to record, so no offense.
Okay. But are we being recorded?
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything is being heard, so I'm sorry. I'm letting you know now.
Okay. My only thing with that, I don't mind that we're being recorded. Again, this is an official investigation, and I don't know if we can release that without a freedom of information thing.
Okay.
That's the only. I don't want to.
I'm not planning on releasing this. I'm just saying that I already know. Good to go. If they try and question, I'm like, I already got it recorded, and I know they're not doing that.
I just want to. Trying to have your back here, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to cover every legal base here, and one legal base is, and it's not our decision. It's what this agency will allow to be released.
Gotcha.
And you are part of what it's being
Huge
released
investigation.
to. Being what it's released to. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to tell you to turn off the recording, okay? But once the recording is done, I'm going to ask that you allow us to call supervisors and get permission for you to have that recording.
Okay.
And if not, hopefully what the worst case scenario is you somehow forward that to us or something, and then at some point maybe you can have a copy back.
Okay.
I'm saying that knowing that I'm being recorded. I just want all the bases covered.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I understand. Like, that's why I finally was like, you know, I have been recording, and holy shit. I'm never going to get that route started.
No, you're not. This is more important.
I
Do
understand.
you agree?
Yes.
I'm going to say again, I don't have a problem with this last paragraph. Does anybody else have a problem with it?
Other than the interrogation thing, but I don't know what you could change it to. I think that was just the
We
wording.
can change it to "they spoke to me," but I don't mind the word interrogation.
I'm sorry. I was like, they didn't really interrogate me per se. They just asked me some questions.
Okay, so the last paragraph is the important paragraph when it comes to you. This is not a numbered paragraph. This is the affidavit parameters, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what it says. It says, I, Richard Hopkins, hereby state that the facts above set forth are true and correct, or
At the best of my
are
knowledge.
true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. That's the important word right there, because it was your belief.
Yeah.
I understand that the statements herein are made subject to the penalties of
Perjury.
blah, 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 blah. I further declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America, the foregoing is true and correct. Okay, I'm not as worried now since they said it's based on your belief.
Yeah.
Because I believe you were acting in good faith.
Yes. That's why I didn't have a problem with it, because in my opinion, that's how it was going. And I did read that part too, and I realized, well, that kind of, even if my memory's fuzzy on this, and it's getting fuzzier every freaking day, I don't know.
Okay. This is what I want to do. Voluntary. You tell me what you're willing to do. I want to set up a written statement that I will swear you to.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
That's fine.
There are several things I want to put in there. Okay. I think a lot of what we are correcting for the affidavit will go in there. Do you agree, Agent Klein?
Yes.
Okay. I think before all of that, we need to be very specific about what that narrow truth is, that no exaggeration, no assumption, narrow truth that we've been talking about. And so I think that needs to go in there. Exactly the words we heard, I say we, you heard, that we discussed, and whatnot, and get that conversation on paper, okay? So that the assumptions and anything that is overblown can stop with that, okay? The other thing I want to do is I want to validate your concerns. And I do that for a specific reason too, because I want people to know that you are working off of a sense of duty and obligation, not out of any sort of retribution or vengeance or just trying to cause trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I want you to put in there what was odd, the not putting it in the raw, to use the term I learned today, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of her name, Steph's little motivational speech after the fact, after voting day was done. I want you to put those in there so people understand that you had a genuine concern, but that concern was fueled by logical assumptions. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
It may take a bit, but I feel like as much as you can put down and as close to that narrow truth as we can keep it is what's going to be most beneficial.
Okay.
Okay. You want to add anything?
No.
Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to be official now because I'm being recorded. I have to sound official.
Sorry.
That was a joke. I am making the decision not to offer you a polygraph. Okay? I feel like polygraphs can be very beneficial when there's a huge question mark. I don't think there's a huge question mark here. You heard something, and you were very honest with me when you said, this is what I believed that meant. Okay? And so I don't feel like there's anything the polygraph can add here or contribute. So as a polygraph examiner, I'm taking that off the table.
Roger.
But I do want to offer you a written statement.
Good to go.
Okay, you have that. Of course, we can't do anything simply, so it's going to be a form we fill out before you start writing. We are going to ask that you write it so that it's in your words and your handwriting, so that it doesn't come back that Russ wrote this for you. Because, as you can see, Russ may have the best intentions for Alex and the whole world, but as you can see with the Project Veritas affidavit, it may actually say something different than what you intended to, because someone else was writing it. And I want this to come from you.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is your chance to get your words into his investigation.
Roger.
And that's why I think it's so important.
And again, the only reason I came forward was so that an investigation would begin. Because
I absolutely
honestly,
believe you. And I want you to know it'll continue.
Good to go.
Just not with you.
Rich, I just want to make sure. This is like a voice memo. We're not on the phone.
No, it's. I'll show you. Just voice recorder.
Got it.
And I've been recording up all day. That's the thing.
Okay.
In case somebody was harassing me or something happened, I just.
Okay. But you also understand why we're going to get permission for that, right?
Yeah,
Because,
I understand.
And you understand that they may come back and not give permission for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You taking a smoke break?
Yeah.
Yeah, this will take a minute, so why don't you go do that, then we'll start up with the statement. Do you want this with you, or leave it here so you know what we're saying?
Yeah.
Either way is fine with me.
You're good. I don't care either way, but at this point, I mean,
Either
it
way.
was more for because I was worried about the people I'm working with harassing me and whatnot.
Whatever you're more comfortable with, you can leave it here or you can take it with you. Would you feel more comfortable with someone with you?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Okay. My only deal is I don't want people coming up to you.
Yeah.
So would you like someone?
No, it's fine. I don't think anybody's gonna show up right now. I know I've got my backpack sitting in the freaking. That's